Hello, hello. Oh, hello. Welcome to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. I'm Steven, and today we are getting into some Oregon Spirits whiskey. I'm going to do something really quickly. Oh man, I don't know if I can get my hand around to do this. Oh, there we go. There we go. Y'all probably like that a little bit better, a little bit brighter. Meow Sugar Kitty, cheers. Nice to see ya. How are y'all doing today? Yeah, I know you're multicasting, and I know Bourbon Note's still on. I was just watching that as I was setting everything up. It's looking like a very interesting, fun live stream there. Let's see here. Peter White in the house. Cheers, cheers. How you doing, man? What are y'all drinking tonight? What are y'all drinking tonight? It's been the first time in a while I'm doing a live stream. I don't want to say super seriously, but I'm excited about today, if you will. I'm feeling much better than I was last week, which is a huge win to begin with, and I'm excited to kind of try some new whiskeys because I got 2 bottles from Oregon Spirit, and I've never had anything from them before, so I'm really excited to kind of see what they're about. Seemingly, I mean, their branding's good. I haven't heard anything bad. I haven't heard anything super good from them, other than, unfortunately, something that I've totally missed. But apparently, they dropped a American single malt off, or one of their master distillers, or one of their distillers, whoever the heck, dropped a bottle of single malt off at the distillery a minute ago. And I apparently missed it, and I never got the opportunity to try it because it was apparently amazing. But other than that, I've heard borderline nothing about them. And they sent me their wheat whiskey and their rye whiskey. They're both around, so the wheat whiskey's around 40, the rye whiskey's around 45, 50. So like a reasonable priced, production for we'll call them a smaller time distillery still, because I feel like they're still on the whole smaller time track. But I'm excited to kind of see what they're all about. It's been a while since I've talked about a distillery that's lesser known or not as big as the big boys, or some sort of blended MGP, because I kind of feel like I've been hitting the MGP train pretty heavy recently. So I'm excited to get into some other stuff. Whiskey Wednesday, let's get drunk. Let's have a few drinks responsibly. They're just in the process of handing off. Yeah. I'm curious who Sugar Kitty. Let me know who won. Or oh wait, no, Joe won, right? Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Cheers, man. How are you doing? Just poured a Glenallachie 12. That's the sherry finish one, right? Where are we? Where's mine? Glenallachie 12. Yeah, that's my favorite scotch. That's the favorite for me as far as scotch goes. I'm a huge fan of that. Yep, Joe wins. Yeah, I want to do that again. I've been reading a book recently all about the whole distillation process and the craft of it, because, well, starting next week, I'm going to start distilling and brand management and sales and basically everything under the sun at a distillery. So I felt like I should kind of know a little bit more about why we do things, how we do things. So I've been reading a book this week, and I'm learning a lot of things. So I kind of want a redemption, if you will, because I kind of failed miserably the first time I did it. And yeah, Sugar Kitty, I know I'm saying it all wrong. Glenallachie. Yep. But yeah, that's my favorite of like just my general scotches, because I don't have any super limited or high proof scotches. I don't want to spend the money on the scotches that I want, if you will. So I'm gonna pour this wheat whiskey, and then we're gonna read all about it, and then we're gonna try it. Gonna see what it's all about. color is decent, a little bit on the lighter side, but we're gonna put it down, kind of let it, you know, fumigate off, if you will. I don't know if that's the right term to use there, but let me shut that off so that's not so loud. I do apologize if everyone's been hearing that and they're like, what is that annoying fan sound? That was my computer. Glen Alaki is doing great these days. Good brand. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that 12-year-old too. That like heavy sherry influence is a huge win for me. So let me know if you feel the same way or anyone else feels the same way, but I didn't used to be like this, but now I feel like every time I pour a whiskey, if I'm going to get nerdy about it, which today we're getting freaking nerdy, just a tad bit nerdy. I should have brought my water. I don't remember where I put that. That might have been a mistake. Here. Well, whatever. We're just drinking whiskey, I guess. Maybe we won't get super nerdy because I have no idea where I put my water. Have you tried Tamdu? If you like that. No, I haven't. I have not tried that. I really like the Glen Alaki stuff a lot. But so recently I've been kind of letting a whiskey sit for like a minute or two before I get into it, and I'm starting to kind of like that a little bit more than that initial punch. You gotta let, like the ethanol kind of like fly off of it, or like evaporate off of it, fumigate off of it, if you will, before I really want to get super into it. Again, I don't know if that's something that other people do, but recently I've been doing that. I'm really enjoying it because it's not like overwhelming by any means. All right. So first one we are going to get into, and I'm going to read this off of their website. This is their just standard wheat whiskey. I know it's like $40 in my area, 45 depending on where you get it, but around that like sub $50, $40 range, which for like we'll call it a smaller time whiskey, pretty solid. Like their entry level is under $50. I like seeing that because far too often we'll see these like smaller time kind of craftish distilleries that have reached out of their state are like pushing their products at like 60, 70 nowadays. So I like seeing that this is still under that 50 mark. 90 proof, distilled from grain. Obviously it's a whiskey. So let's see here. I'm not looking at the tasting notes. Age 5 years old, 90 proof. Mash bill is going to be 74% wheat, 18% rye, and 8% barley. So no corn whatsoever. That's interesting. I'm not usually super deep into the whole wheat flavor profile because wheat can sometimes get like too soft and sour and too vanilla-y for me. But since this does have rye and malted barley, I'm excited to kind of see how it goes because that might spice it up a little bit. Because typically we'll see like in place of wheat, we'll see rye, but in place of rye, we'll see wheat. Where it's in this case, it's kind of both in a way. So let's see here. Tamdu 15 is such a good value. Tamdu, I don't think I've even heard of them or seen them. Oh, here, bear with me one moment. All right, and I'm back. All right, so yeah, 70%. 74%. Why can't I say fours right now? 74% wheat, 18% rye, and 8% barley. And 5 years old, aged in Oregon. So not a super insanely hot climate, and the color definitely reflects that. Like it's not a bad color, it's just on the lighter side. Like this is reflecting like a year and a half, maybe a year here in Arizona. So a lot on the lighter side for whiskeys I'll usually go to, but again, it is crafty, smaller time. Wheat whiskey, I don't know the rules, and it doesn't say Yeah, it doesn't say if this is a brand new fill or X fill or a brand new American oak barrel. As I don't know the rules of wheat whiskey. If someone knows more, please put it in chat. But I don't know the rules as far as if it is, legally okay for them to use new or used barrels. I mean, they could always use new, but is used barrels appropriate? Okay. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Ooh, there is this like a little bit of oak. We'll call it that. It's like a pecan nuttiness. This is super sweet. It's vanilla fluff. There's some sort of like herbal floral type note going on there. I can't quite put it down. The oiliness of this whiskey's pretty solid though. You could definitely see like the oils in the actual whiskey itself, which is pretty dope. Yeah, there's like this toasted oak going on in there. It's super, it smells like a wheated bourbon. Like a spicy wheated bourbon, because there's this like cinnamony baking spice kind of like punch that goes floral, but it's still like spicy. Yeah, I get this like floral spice, this nice vanilla. On the lighter side, it's more in the pocket of that like custardy vanilla with like accents of that like spice and that floralness. A little bit of like a fruity characteristic going on as well, like a just baseline like red fruit, kind of like an apple or like a maybe getting into strawberry territory. There's this strange like I don't want to say tannic, but there's this like toasted tannicky type oak going on, and then this like spicy floral note that's borderline undescribable. Like I haven't smelt this in a whiskey before, and it doesn't smell bad. I'm not trying to describe it as bad. There's a tinge of like these youthful notes in there, but it's not like too bad. You could just smell that like graininess coming off of it, but it's again very very subtle. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one. I think straight wheat whiskey follows the bourbon rules, but don't quote me. Is this straight whiskey? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I'm liking what I'm getting off of it. Definitely interesting. And that's one of the main reasons I love all these like craft distilleries or smaller time distilleries is because they do different stuff. And that's what really separates it from the big boys. It's not, oh, hey, can I make a bourbon better than MGP? If MGP wants to make the best bourbon in the world, they have the facilities to make that happen. That being said, Oregon Spirits, they can turn that a dime. There's less bureaucracy and other BS going on. It's softened up, just sitting out there. There's more red fruit. The red fruit's coming in a little bit heavier and it's softer. It's this soft vanilla custard with red fruit, but there's still that tinge of like that toasty oak and spice in the back end. It's just kind of hidden. What is up, Mr. Lopez? Cheers. Nice to see you. How are you guys doing? What are you guys drinking tonight? Ryan Frank tagging off the bourbon note, checking in. Cheers. Yeah, that is like a vanilla custardy. This is interesting. It's going in different directions, and it's not like it's pulling apart in different directions. It's just kind of like a roller coaster. Like there's two ends of this whiskey. There's like this floral spicy thing going on, which is far more subtle, and then there's this like vanilla custardy red fruit thing going on, and it kind of is doing this whole like dance where it's like heavier here, and then it like tabs in, and then goes there, and then kind of touches it. I don't know. Very interesting nose. I don't want to say it's good or bad off the nose, just because it's interesting. Um, it's I will say like it's a good nose, but it's going in a lot of different directions at all or at once. Where it's not the most cohesive nose, but what I am smelling is pleasant. There we go. Words. Not sipping anything yet. Well, Mr. Lopez, let's solve that. If you got any Oregon Spirit stuff, should pour that. Right now, I'm drinking their wheat whiskey, and then I'm going to be getting into their rye. I really wish we had their malt here, but apparently they don't sell that in Arizona. Ooh. On the palate, there's this like malty earthiness that slowly builds into this like sweet vanilla custardy fruitiness. It's a little on the thin side. Again, it is 90 proof. That malty earthiness is just like building. It's on the back of the tongue and like the sides of my tongues. It's very earthy. This is a super earthy whiskey. It's on the nose, it's less earthy, or maybe that's the note that I was trying to. It's that like floral earthiness that's going on. That's like that oak and floral earthiness with a little bit of like a spicy cinnamon almost, or a spicy baking spice. I mean, when I smell and I think earth, I'm getting earth, but that could just be my subjectivity or whatever going on. Yeah. A little thin on the palate, but the finish does go a long way. I'm used to the mouthfeel of wheat whiskeys being heavier, but this is like this like earthy, malty vanilla with some nice fruitiness, a little bit of oak there, a little bit of a nuttiness in there. That is super different. That is, it's very earthy. Like this is wheat usually to me is like sweet, right? It's sweet and soft. Vanilla custardy type flavors going on, but this has some earthiness in here. Yeah, a little thin. I wish the viscosity was a little bit higher because it drinks with such a great flavor. Very earthy, red fruits in there going towards the red fruits go to the tip of the tongue, and the earthiness goes to like the outsides of the tongue. I like this bottle. It's very interesting. This is one that I can't compare to anything else. Like I can't think of a single bottle I have that has this whole flavor profile going on in it. Right now I'm drinking Oregon Spirits wheat whiskey. Wheat whiskey. Okay, so wheat whiskeys follow the same rules for proof and barreling as bourbon. New charred American oak, now more than 160 proof, no more than 160 off the proof, no more than 125 going into the barrel. Okay, that tracks. This reminds me of so I'm going to compare this to a bottle that I don't like, but just follow me with this because I do actually enjoy this because I think it's really different and it's well done. And the only like jib I'm or like kind of gag I'm getting at it is the viscosity is a little lackluster, but the flavor behind that, because usually viscosity and flavor kind of go together, but it just drinks thin, but the flavor is really bold. But this drinks to me kind of like that Starward. Here, let me go grab it. Mr. Lopez. Okay, awesome. Yeah, what did you think about them? I mean, don't tell me about the rye, but just like tell me about their bourbon. What do you think about their bourbon? Because I'm about to get in the rye, so I kind of want my own opinions going into. What is the proof of that? Yeah, it is 90 proof. Yeah, 90 proof and 5 years old, and I believe this one's 90 proof as well. So this is the one off of memory. This reminds me of is double grain Starward twofold, which is wheat and malted barley. So that might make sense of why I'm getting it, is because the two primary are still the same. But oh yeah, that's bad though. Oh, oh, I don't like that bottle. Oh, and I don't have any water. Oh, that's just like it's savory, it's funky, it's earthy, where it's like this. Yeah, that's earthy, vanilla custards, red fruit. That is fun, man. So I don't know what everyone's collections look like, but nowadays I'm finding less that I'm interested in finding like the most amazing whiskeys ever. I'm more interested in finding different whiskeys. This 110% is very different from anything I have on my shelves. Not the best buy for 40 bucks, but or not like the best value out there for 40 bucks, but it's definitely a very interesting, fun drink. If you like earthy vanilla fruit, then that is exactly it. Yeah, that is fun. Gets a little almost minty towards the end of the palate too. This earthiness becomes this like fruity, and then it kind of gets to like almost like a mint julepy taste on the end. And that is fun. Four Leaf Whiskey in the house. Cheers. How are you doing? What are you drinking tonight? Drinking some Irish whiskey, I would assume, but what Irish whiskey? A few years ago, Masterson put out a 12-year 100% wheat whiskey, was sourced from Alberta. It was not that good, and it was a failure. I remember getting 2 bottles at 35 CAD each. Oof, that's rough. I hate. There's nothing worse than like buying a bunch of bottles and then it ends up being like a cluster F, and it's just like a bad series of buys. Like that gets me every time. 9 times out of 10. I just always will get upset whenever I buy a bottle and it goes poorly. By the way, if I'm looking left, that's where the monitor is. I got a new monitor, so now I have a monitor here and here, but this one I can read comments better. So if I'm looking this way, it is what it is. It is what it is. We're always searching for something different. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm trying to find something a little bit new or a little bit different. I like the wheat whiskey. I would 100% buy it again, or well, buy it in general. To me, it's definitely interesting. If you have to buy one bottle, this probably isn't your bottle, but if you're whiskeyaholic, like I'm sure a lot of us are, because I don't want to call us an alcoholic because I feel like a lot of our community drinks very responsibly. But if you purchase a lot of whiskey because you're addicted to, I don't know if it's the hunt of the whiskey or just trying new things or whatever the case may be, this is definitely up your realm if you like vanilla, earthiness, fruitiness, a tinge of mint on the end. Like the finish is minty. It's so strange. It's like a mint julep. I just made a mint julep at work with our blue corn whiskey, which blue corn is like kind of like an earthier corn, Because, or at least seemingly, like yellow corn sweet, blue corn. I mean, it's still corn, so it's sweet, but like yellow corn sweet, red corn's like a spicier sweetness, and then blue corn's more of like an earthier sweetness. So I made it with the blue corn mint julep. That tastes just like it on like the tip of my tongue at the end. I know that's only something I can relate to, but if you can imagine like making a mint julep with like an earthier stone fruit sweet whiskey, and I know a few of you guys out there potentially watching have actually tried that. No, that's a pleasant drink. It has a bit of that wheat funk on the start of the palate, like on the initial sip. It has this like vanilla custardy funkiness that I don't like in a lot of wheated products. But as soon as it passes that, it gets super earthy, vanilla, fruity. That mint julep on the tip of my tongue. I I definitely enjoy that. It's a solid. So in my area right now, it is $36. So $36, that's a buy 100%. But it says typically, or I did a little bit of research, and typically you'll find it for around $40. But still, at $40, I think this is definitely really, really solid. Let's get into the rye whiskey. Man, that is earthy. Look, I'm gonna go off camera for a second just because I need to find my water bottle. I have no idea where it is, and I'm not getting into another whiskey without like a palate cleanser. I'm trying to take this serious for once, okay, guys? All right, buddy. Now I need you to try the whiskey, okay? Do you think you could do that? No, I know you're not into that. Love you. Okay. Um, let's get into the next one. That is a great. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've put probably way too much work into it if we're being 100% honest. I'm kind of, I don't want to say OCD, but I'm a little obsessive about my backdrop and everything for like literally no reason. Because again, it doesn't really matter all that much. Oh man, why can I not get this off? Yeah, so far, Oregon Spirits, pleasantly surprised. Oh man, this is all the way on there. Yeah, so far, again, pleasantly surprised. I will be honest, I kind of anticipated it to not be all that great. Just because they're kind of crafty. Usually, craftier places is a little overpriced. Just because like they can't produce a bottle of whiskey at the same margins like a Jack Daniel's, Brown Foreman, Wild Turkey can make. So usually their stuff costs a little bit more for an inferior level product. Not that I have anything against that because I love supporting craft, but usually a craft bottle is under, we'll call it $50. I don't even necessarily know if I want to say that. I'm just kind of doubtful, or I'm a pessimist when it comes to craft whiskeys if I've never had their stuff before. But now I can say Oregon Spirits, they know what they're doing. They're solid. Like this is really good. I would love to try, because you can tell if a spirit is well done whether you like the spirit or not. And that spirit, it's weird. It's a little like different than your average spirit, but they definitely know what they're doing in the sense of how to distill and all the methods and whatnot, which again, I'm still very, very new to it. But I didn't get a lot of funkiness or some weird stuff going on. It was just earthy and fruity, and I mean, it's just a weird mash bill in general, which I kind of enjoy weird mash bills, but again, not something normal. Would love to see cask strength. I mean, that's usually my go-to. If I like a whiskey, I'm like, but what is it at proof? Because again, my one complaint was it was a little on the thinner side. So I'd love to see that cask strength. Oregon seems to have a lot of craft distilleries or NDP. Oregon. What else is in Oregon? I know what Westward's in Oregon, right? Yeah, Westward's in Oregon. What else is in Oregon? Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah, I know Westward's in Oregon, and I really, really love their stuff. Obviously, I have like 9 bottles of it, but what else is there? Hello, how are you guys doing? Great live stream tonight, by the way. Okay, so next one is going to be their rye whiskey. So this is a 90 proof rye whiskey. I love their label, like this whole little kind of like mountainy scape thing. I mean, the wheat stalks is a little bit much, but their logo's pretty dope. Their labeling is, I like it. It's cool. It's definitely has that kind of crafty vibe going on to it, which is fun because sometimes a lot of craft distilleries they kind of ham it up too much. But this is, let's read their website. Where am I? Okay, so 4 years old, 90 proof, and 100% rye. Huh. Didn't see that one coming. Usually it's like a different kind of mash bill, but 100% rye is, whew, that is some spice. Going from there is a theme to the smell though. There's that, which is something I've noticed. Craft distilleries, as long as they distill their own stuff, they all have that like little signature tidbit going on in there. Okay, Salem, McCarthy's, and Hood River. I've never even heard of any of these places. Now I got to research this stuff. Let me. Salem Distillery. Gotta open up tabs so I can. Hood River Distillery. Oh my god, that's a lot. Bull Run, Freeland Spirit. So I've had Bull Run, Burnside. Yes. Freeland. And I got a whole list of Oregon-based distilleries that I need to go check out later now. Okay, awesome. Well, let's get into the rye whiskey. So, let's let it twirl around for a sec. Carthy's is big into single malt whiskeys. Ooh, okay. Say less. I'm gonna definitely check them out first. There's this earthiness on the whiskey, which is strange because it's 100% rye, so I expected like spice, but there's this oaky kind of like tree pepperiness going on. Oaky tree sounds bad, but vanilla. This is super herbal. It's less spice and more of an herbal whiskey. Like it's very herbaceous. It's I'm trying to think of what herbs I would constitute that as. I'm not too good with like my specific herb herbologist. Ryan Frank, check it, but gotta check out. Have a great show. Cheers, Ryan. We'll see you later, man. Take care. McCarthy's and Hood River are the same. McCarthy's is the brand. Hood River is a distillery. Again, Sugar Kitty, we're going to find out after this live stream. That's 100% for sure. Yeah, there's this white pepper and this like herbaceousness going on in this herbal. It's herbal. It's not planty, not type full on vegetable, maybe like a sage, almost like sagebrush. No, that doesn't seem right. It's like, oh man, this is gonna be it's like white pepper and the smell of the forest after rain. So you walk out and everything's very aromatic. It kind of smells like that. Nice vanillas. Slight red fruit that's kind of hidden in the back. So I like their wheat whiskey. I'm really into this rye. This rye it's very robust on the nose for 90 proof too. Like it is, that 90 proof is not really, or I would say it's not hidden or anything. Like for it being 90 proof, this is not like a subdued casual whiskey. It's kind of punchy. It's in your face. It's present. Man, time to get on the palate. Oh, yeah, that spice. What is the price for this thing again? White pepper. Man, these tasting notes are going to be rough, but tree branches. Not like ginny tree branches, but there's this like vegetal earthiness going on in there where I can only think of like tree branches. Is that a bad tasting note, guys? Because like I don't mean to like talk crap about this whiskey because I am enjoying what I'm getting, but I don't know how to constitute it to anything other than like tree branches. Like there's like this huge oaky tree branch smell taste thing going on here. And it's robust on the palate though. Sweet, that white pepper, that spiciness, dark, heavy. Yeah, there's this baking spice, this like vegetally herbaceous note that I keep on calling trees, but I don't feel right about that because that makes it sound bad, but it's not. It's like white pepper, vanilla sweetness. Man, I like this. Again, another one that's different. It's 100% rye, but it's so different from like the, Whistle Pig Piggyback. Here, this is, oh man. I think this is the only other 100% rye whiskey I have on my shelves, but this is Canadian, but I'll just drink it out the bottle. Let's see. These are roughly the same price point too. That's so strange. This is a 100% rye and it's 96.56 proof, and it drinks easier and lighter than the Oregon Spirits rye. Way sweeter, way more candied, where this is like earthy and spicy. Is that like their signature? So, man, I forgot who said they've had their bourbon before. Let's see, who was it? No, Mr. Lopez. Do you remember their bourbon being kind of like earthy? Because that had some earthiness to it. That's viscous, nice mouthfeel, solid proof. Yeah, Alberta. Yeah, I like the piggyback, so I'm not trying to compare them. They're too different to compare despite their mash bills being same. Oregon Spirit, it's dark, it's earthy, it's peppery. This is really fun. I mean, in case you can't tell from my reaction, I like the rye. I'm 100% buying the rye. The wheat whiskey, it's more of a hey if you're into weird stuff or if you want to try something a little abnormal. Whereas the rye, I think the rye is 100% buy for that like earthy rye, like a more kind of earthy herbal type rye, not necessarily minty, but more earthy herbal vegetal type thing going on. Uh, that's fun. I don't think I own a single rye that's like this either. I'm trying to think of something that I can compare it to. I mean, I go pretty heavy with the MGP 95.5 rye, but this is just like unlike anything else. This is wild and weird and fun. All right, you can chalk me up on that. I think Oregon Spirit Whiskey, of the two ones I've had, I'm both pleasantly surprised with them. Again, crafter whiskeys, but really, really happy with what I'm seeing, especially at the 4 years old. I feel like this, they have to use a different. I'm trying to look at color differences, but it's kind of hard to. Yeah, they have to use like an X fill cast for this because this is technically, or not technically is, this is a year older where this one isn't, and this one's hella dark compared to that. I mean, maybe they're using different size casks. Let me see if I can find any more information on this because I am super curious. Excuse me. All right, we're just gonna click on their website. Born from winter wheat grown in the heart of Oregon and finished with touches of rye and malted barley to create a balanced. Um, okay, well, that didn't give me any sort of information on casks or whatnot. Rye, unique whiskey made 100% grown rye. The rye is a labor of love. We proudly bring you. Because I don't see why the color would be dark. Ooh, eucalyptus. So that's what the tasting note on the website is. I'm not too familiar with eucalyptus, but I guess that's probably a eucalyptus. It's like a more of a planty tree type thing. Yeah, I would say that's kind of what it is on the palate. Eucalyptus. Man, that's a good tasting note. I like that. See, this is why sometimes you gotta taste things with other people because other people, or in this case, a website, will kind of point out what you can actually words that to. Okay. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with Oregon Spirits. I was skeptical and I menthol cough drop. It gets a little mentholy, I guess. Yeah. little mentholy, but it's more of like a vegetal menthol. Like it's that mentholiness, you're getting it by eating a plant. And it's not super robust. It's not like mint. It's more of a kind of that earthy menthol towards the end or the back end. I like this rye. This rye is seriously unlike any other rye I've ever had. Like I can't think of a single one I can compare it to. Because at least the wheat whiskey I could compare it to the Starward, which is kind of a similar mash bill anyway, so that kind of made sense. But they do some red wine finishing stuff, and I think that's where that one kind of goes a whole different direction that I don't really enjoy. But this rye, so the wheat whiskey, I think it's solid. It's worth a buy if you're looking for something atypical, but it's still kind of in the vein of that bourbon American whiskey. Like it's not too far off where it's a completely different thing going on. Where it's rye, rye's not always the most approachable, so it's usually spicier. A lot of people don't really love it. Or rye, I think, is 100% a buy if you're looking for an earthier rye. Like, not that, like barely legal rye that's a super sweet rye that is kind of like covered up. It's like fruity and spicy. This one has a like little bit of like sweetness, like vanilla, a little bit of that fruitiness going on, but there is a substantial bit of like this earthy spice going on. Dude, I'm really digging this rye. All right. We got time for one more pour. So before I gravitate towards some random pour, final closing thoughts on Oregon Spirits. I think they're solid. I'm a buy on both of these. I'm way more a buy on the rye than the wheat whiskey. But rye's a little bit more down my traditional path regardless, whereas the wheat whiskey is kind of more of an oddity for me. But I do think they're both really, really good. And from what one of the guys who works at the distillery with me said, apparently one of their master distillers or owner dropped off one of their malts like a year or so ago. I unfortunately clearly didn't get to try it, but he said it was a really phenomenal pour. So I'm excited to see when that kind of hits, the Arizona market, so I can give that a try because I think that's going to really, really go well with the way that their flavor profile is kind of hitting in that more earthier type whiskeys. I think that would really complement that single malt really well. But again, I'm a buy on them. I like their stuff. These were solid buys, especially for 4 or 5-year-old whiskeys. I'm pleasantly surprised. I really do think that wheat whiskey must be finished in something or like an ex-bourbon cask just because maybe not the whole time, but I feel like part of it does because there's no way it is lighter than the 4-year-old rye because all the color comes from the oak. Thus, it doesn't matter what the grain is. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times before. All right, what should I drink? Mike could Catalone. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher Mike Jr. That's what I'm just gonna say because there's zero chance I'm saying your last name proper. Hi, bud, from Louisiana. How are you doing, man? I don't think I've ever been to Louisiana. I think I've been to where's Fort Polk in? Fort Polk. Where is that? I think that's in Louisiana. Fort Polk. Maps. Where are we? Oh man. Let's see here. Where the hell is Louisiana on a map? Oh, this is really testing my geography abilities because I'm learning. I have no idea where any of it is. Yeah, here. Dude, you can just come in.
Okay.
No one cares.
Okay. Well, I'm just because the car person keeps declining my calls, and I'm putting on hold for 10 minutes. I'll figure this one out. I'll bring you in.
Okay. Have fun with that. Okay. There we go. There's Louisiana. Fort. Oh, that's Fort Polk. Fort Polk. Let's see here. Yep, that's in Louisiana. Yep, so I've been to Louisiana before. I enjoyed Fort Polk. That was a fun time. All right. Final pour. Final pour of the night. We got like 9 minutes until I'm probably wrapping this up. I like Oregon Spirits. What else? What else do you want to watch me pour and talk about? Ooh, I just met my goal. My fitness goal for the day. Man, I'm trying to think of a new bottle that I haven't really gotten into. Got a Michter's that I haven't opened up. I got a Iron Harbinger Hazmat that I haven't opened up. I could talk about Frey Ranch because I'm really digging their stuff. Although I wanna, I'm in Covington. Okay. I want to save that Frey Ranch review for a little later on because I got a few reviews and kind of stockpiling. Let's see what else. Makers BEP I want to save. I've already talked about all the Doc Swinsons. I mean, what do you want to see me talk about? I kind of thought I could stretch 2 bottles into a live stream, but Oregon Spirits a Total Wine. No. They're a craft distillery in Oregon. They do their own stuff. There's one thing about like Total Wine. So like for example, the distillery I work for, we distribute only within Arizona because that's how big we are. But our spirits are primarily found at Total Wines as Total Wine. Oh man, bear with me. I'm gonna. Here we go. Okay, get out. Go, run, move. Sorry, if you have cats, like when they really want out, they're gonna get out or they're gonna keep screaming. But like Total Wine, they have such a pronounced active kind of footprint that if you're just expanding, it's so much easier to expand into like primarily Total Wines and like random liquor stores here or there, as usually the random liquor stores won't pick up a random bottle or a random label, whereas Total Wine 100% will, because I'll be honest, half of their whiskey section is just like overwhelmingly like brand new whiskey distilleries that are primarily sourcing MGP, which kind of gives bottlings like this and all a bad name when they show up on the shelves and you see this and you're like, oh, this is probably just another made up random bottling that Total Wine just threw on the shelves. Is that a double rye single barrel behind you? Yeah. Yeah, it's a Syrah cask finished double rye. It's my absolute favorite as far as my double rye picks have gone, and that's why that's the only one I still have left, because the other ones I have finished. But now that they're gone, I feel like I kind of got to covet that one a little bit because it's really special. Okay. What am I gonna drink? I want to stick with the craft theme of tonight. So, craft whiskey. Craft whiskey. Craft, which kind of leads me 100% to that Frey Ranch bottle, but I'm saving that for another time. Those are all bourbons. I want a rye. I'm feeling rye right now. Oh, this one. So I haven't had this pour in a hot minute. So this is, I don't want to say Cooper's Craft 100. Yeah, I could do that. I guess, yeah. Oh. I have made very few pours out of this bottle. We should probably clean the glass. Because this is one of those bottles that's like should be distributing to Arizona, but isn't for some freaking reason. So I've kind of, didn't chug it too fast because, well, it's a good bottle and I don't want to kill it right away. And doing all these YouTube things, sometimes it's nice to have all these bottles to compare other things to. At least I like doing that. I like having bottles on the shelves where I can be like, oh, this reminds me of this. Let's compare them. Because sometimes it's easy to kind of maybe not necessarily tell which one you like more, but like kind of see what one whiskey has and another whiskey doesn't have. Because I really like seeing kind of the differences between them. Like what makes one better than another. And sometimes it's really just like preference and all, but sometimes it's like, oh, hey, this one's chocolatier. So that's like the special part that this one's missing compared to this other one. I don't know if anything I'm saying is making any sense, but Cooper's Craft 100 proof, $30 Kentucky bourbon. Brown-Forman Cooperage. I don't know who distills this stuff. Yeah, because all this talks about is the Cooperage. Produced and bottled by Brown-Forman Distillery, Louisville, Kentucky. Produced and bottled by... I don't know. It's one of the Brown-Forman subsidiaries, so like Old Forester or probably Makers bottles it. Oh, this is in a whole other vein. Like we've gone from like earthy craft whiskey to straight up just like probably the best like budget bourbon out there. This is Brown-Forman. This is everything you want to see in a Brown-Forman bottle. I could be, way off my ass for saying this, but again, this crap stomps Old Forester 100 proof screw top. Like this is what Old Forester's 100 proof screw top wish it was. It's that like nuttiness, that banana note, a nice cherry note in there too. The proof is definitely present. This is a super robust whiskey on the nose compared to, again, what we've been drinking. Like we haven't had anything at this level of like, but also this is 100 proof, whereas we've been drinking 90 to 96.56 proof. So we're going up in proof. Probably going up in age, thing is how it's a Kentucky whiskey. And so far, the oldest thing we've drank so far has been about 6 years. And I would assume this is probably at a minimum. I would assume this is a batch product, but I bet there's 4 to 8-year-old juice in here. Just guesstimating, obviously. Again, if I'm way out of line, please let me know in chat because I'm liable to be messed up. But $30 for 100 proof Brown-Forman product, non-age stated. And it is the vanilla ice cream, bananas. So we just recently went to, by recently I mean within the last 3 weeks, went to Bass Pro Shop. That's where I actually bought this shirt. Been really enjoying these Under Armour shirts. But we went to Bass Pro Shop and bought a shirt, bought a Yeti, and then Olivia, my wife, bought like these, not Good and Plenty's, but they're the candies that are shaped like at the fruit. It's like that banana, that artificial white chalky banana or yellow chalky banana with like the white chalkiness on the inside. Literally smells just like that. Like this is that with a cherry, some vanilla ice cream, a little bit of oat, a touch of cinnamon on the back end there. I could live in this nose. Man, I really enjoy Brown-Forman products, and this is just a really well done Brown-Forman product because I feel like this is that in between that Old Forester 100 screw top and the bottled and bond Old Forester. Like this sits in that where it's like a more defined version of that, but it's also not $50. So like it's the best of both worlds. Oh, a little nuttier on the palate. It still has that cherry, that artificial banana, a little bit of chocolate and oak in there as well. That cinnamon also comes through towards the end. That cinnamon and oak get a little bit heavier. Man, that bottle. This would make like a monster of a daily drinker if this was in my area. Very down home plate Brown-Forman juice compared to what we've been sipping on today, though. Because I feel like today we went really heavy into the craft world, and this was very much so in the traditional, dare I say, like kind of basic realm. Because there's again nothing super different about this compared to a lot of other whiskeys out there, or especially Brown-Forman. Like I get a handle of Woodford Reserve back there. This is, albeit a really good version of that, it's still just another version of that same exact traditional, just Brown-Forman flavor profile. Going to pick up Still Awesome Red Corn. Bottle and Brown picked up the rate the other day too, pretty good. Josh, if you have the availability to pick up two, email me. Okay? That's all I'll say. I would greatly appreciate an email because I desperately want to get my hands on the red corn bourbon from it. I love Still Austin, and that there's something about that red corn that super intrigues me because, again, I'm really into red corn right now. I'm getting into different mash bills, if you will, or like not as far as like whiskey goes, but I'm getting really interested in kind of like what's different post-production of, like, say we use yellow corn, red corn, blue corn, green corn, because there is green corn, because I've had green corn moonshine. But I mean, that's just, I'm chasing the craft a little bit. I'm getting into some fun, interesting things, and that bottle has 100% piqued my interest. Yeah. I mean, Cooper's Craft is good. That's good Kentucky bourbon. Traditional, but good. I've been seeing Still Austin grocery stores around here. Not sure about the red corn one. Yeah, I think the red corn is distillery only. I assumed that. Yeah, I've seen their rye. I've seen their rye here recently. That's going to be a 2023 pickup. At what point I can pick it up to be determined. But I absolutely love their bourbon, and I know that red corn is kind of distillery only. So I've reached out to them, been like, "Hey, I'll pay for it. Send me it," but I haven't heard anything back. So I'm, again, desperately trying to get my hands on. Desperate seems a little too desperate, but I really want to get my hands on it. Yeah, Still Austin is, man. So Josh, if you're going to the distillery, let me know what kind of still they use, or if you can ask them, let me know, because I'd be really intrigued, because I know a lot of distilleries around that area are using just a traditional copper pot still. And I know our distillery, the one I work for, we use a copper pot still, and it has three little coupler plates in between the condenser arm. I'm probably using the terms wrong. Again, still very new to this. And you guys are going to witness my journey because I'm going to start vlogging about it starting probably next week. But I know we have three platelets in between the copper pot still as it goes up. And ours tastes very typical to a traditional Texas distillery, whereas Still Austin, they're doing something very, very different. So I'd love to see what their still is, because I think they're a lot more like along that realm of just like kind of built more of a Kentucky distillery. Specs in Texas stores, not sure if it's going to go any further. Yeah, it might just be it's a Texas only one. I live in Arizona. I'm about 6 hours away from them. I'm in East Texas, closer to Arkansas, Louisiana. So you probably live closer to like Iron Root and all that. If you haven't checked out Iron Root, you 100% should. They're, again, my favorite Texas distillery. Still Austin's kind of my go-to for recommending people to get into Texas distilleries. I think Iron Root's probably the best. Still Austin's up there. Balcones, I like their malts a lot. I need to take a trip to Texas to really get deep in the weeds, because a lot of the Texas distilleries are still stuck in Texas, and there's a boatload of them that are kind of fantastic, but you can only get their stuff in Texas. Yeah, and I'm finding that recently I'm kind of bored with traditional Kentucky bourbon. I'm kind of bored with it. Like this is kind of turning into my goal. 2023, I'm all about craft. And I don't know if that has to do with 2023. I started working for a craft distillery. I'm now going full-time in a week, but man, I really, really want to get into craft whiskey, try some like smaller time operations, really get into their stuff, because I think some of the stuff people are doing at those places is really interesting and can really develop and change the world of whiskey if we could expand their operations to the limelight. Like, this is approachable, it's easy, it's acceptable. You're not approachable because it is very robust at that 100 proof, but like this is traditional Kentucky bourbon. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, there's a place for traditionality, but I want to see different things. I want to see some sort of exploration, and we don't see that from a lot of those big guys who have the facilities to do that, which is unfortunate. We are starting to see the growth of ASMs, but we will see if a big distillery really starts producing a good one. Because I know this year they released the Yellowstone malt, and that one is very It's about an hour. They're great people, and their store you can get some really probably one of my favorite bottles so far from 2023. Again, I need to compare all these things. It's super unique, so it'll hold out and or kind of stick out like a sore thumb in a blind. But that Icarus, I think it's Icarus at least. Yeah, Icarus. It's their Hubris, but finished in port and peated casks. Man, that's a fun ride. That being said, I will pick up whatever this conversation is, because at this point, this is just me drunkenly ranting about my philosophy on the whiskey industry or my thoughts on the whiskey industry. So I'm going to close it at this point before I start getting too intoxicated on a work week. But closing out thoughts. Cooper's Craft, really good. Oregon Spirits, awesome. Check them out. Try their stuff. Very interesting, very different. It's hard to say buy as their stuff is atypical, but at least for their rye whiskey, if you like rye whiskey, I highly doubt you would have an issue with this rye whiskey as long as you're aware that is earthier. Wheat whiskeys are kind of few and far in between, so it's kind of hard to compare this to anything else, but definitely still think this is worth the buy, especially again if you're in earthier type whiskeys. But both of those I really liked. Patiently awaiting their malt, but yeah. Check out Oregon Spirits. No, they are not a Total Wine exclusive. They are an actual functional distillery inside of Oregon, and I think they're doing some pretty solid stuff. I'm gonna have to look into them quite a bit more after this. But again, do those favors, like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other YouTube channels that have been in here and supported me throughout this whole journey and whatnot. We will see you hopefully same time next time. Next week, I am starting my work at the distillery, so I'm going away from my traditional, like, atypical or typical 9 to 5 type thing. So from here on out, live streams might become, I don't want to say few and far in between, but kind of on a less trackable or less consistent timeline, as I don't know, but I'm still going to try to keep them on a consistent timeline. But that being said, that is a wrap for today. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you later.